Hi guys, welcome to our daily encounter. In Proverbs chapter 30 and verses 8 and 9, Agor gives us some very wise words. He says, "There keep deception and lies far from me. Give me neither poverty nor riches. Feed me with the food that is my portion, that I not be full and deny you and say, 'Who is the Lord?' Or that I not be in want and steal and profane the name of my God." Here, Agor recognized the dangers of both being really, really rich and also being really, really poor. He realized that being very rich might cause an individual to wander and drift away from God, but also being very, very poor might tempt a person to steal and therefore profane the name of their God. And these two things are seen as very dangerous situations. And Agor wanted to live right there in the middle. Not too rich, not too poor. A very Goldilocks type of scenario here. But then in the book of Philippians, the Apostle Paul had learned the secret of how to live both with affluence and then also with poverty. He says in verse 12 of Philippians 4, I know how to get along with humble means, and I also know how to live in prosperity. In any and every circumstance, I have learned the secret of being filled and going hungry, both of having abundance and suffering need. The Apostle Paul, although perhaps a person who would have recognized the fact that there are dangers with being rich and then also dangers with being poor, also recognized the fact that it is actually possible to live with riches, and it's also possible to live in poverty and still maintain one's devotion to the Lord. And it seems to be that the Apostle Paul had learned this secret through trust, because he goes on to say in verse 13, I can do all things through him who strengthens me. Because the Apostle Paul trusted in the one who gave him strength, because the Apostle Paul trusted in the Lord to uphold him in both types of situations, he had learned the secret of how to maintain devotion to the Lord and yet live in affluence, but also live in poverty and still maintain his spiritual sensitivities. And the same thing is true with us. It might be that circumstances in life might sometimes find us in situations where we're pretty well off. We're well taken care of, whether we're just abundantly rich or not. We might get into a situation where at least we have our necessities taken care of, and then a little bit more than that. And then we might also find ourselves in situations where times get rough and financially we struggle, financially we have a hard time, and we might go down into the direction of poverty. But we shouldn't walk away and say, well, it's impossible then to serve the Lord because either I'm too rich or I'm too poor. The Apostle Paul would say, no, as long as we keep our trust in the Lord, as long as we realize that our strength comes from the Lord, we can live a very spiritually vibrant life. And so this is the secret to being able to serve the Lord, be devoted to the Lord, no matter what our financial state might be. And so today, let's focus on trusting in the Lord. Let's recognize the fact that no matter what our bank account says, whether our bank account says we're well-to-do or our bank account says that we have much lacking, let's just continue to trust in the Lord. And recognizing the fact that even if we have a lot, we know that it can be taken away in a moment, and that it's really the Lord that upholds us in our riches. And if we find ourselves very poor, we could say, you know what? I don't have to turn to stealing or robbery or theft. I can trust in the Lord, and the Lord will provide all of my needs. If I seek first the kingdom and his righteousness, all these things will be provided for me. And so trust becomes the means by which we can deal with and work through all the various financial situations we might find ourselves in. So even though Agor does give us some very wise words and does kind of warn us of the dangers of both being rich and then also the dangers of being poor, it doesn't mean that it's then impossible to be devoted to the Lord in either of those situations, insofar as we continue to just walk humbly before God, we just continue to trust in the Lord and to rely upon the strength that He provides us. So these are some things we can reflect on and think about as we do our reading today. With that, guys, I do thank you for watching the video today. Hope you guys have a great day. Love you guys. God bless.